we had an F1 race on Sunday. I'm going to call it the Imola Grand Prix. It's got some other name that I can't pronounce, and I'm a stupid American, so I do my best. This is the race at Imola, though. It's a narrow track. It's hard to pass. There's a lot of potential for contact, meaning there's a lot of potential for having a yellow flag. And a lot happened in this race. I was actually gearing up for a boring race, and then I started watching. I was like, why would I expect a boring race? It's never boring with F1. Even if it's moments of no one's passing anybody, for me, I enjoy that because there's always tension. So Mercedes won their 7th straight Constructors' Championship by winning this race. They won. They got first and second. Not a shocker. It's just interesting to me. Like, Mercedes have been so dominant for years. They are. It's impressive and deserves respect. And you can say, like, they bought their wins, but you still got to say, like, you may buy wins, but it's still an impressive investment by Mercedes to say, we value winning this much. We're going to pay this much money to dominate Formula One. Now, I think the best moment of tension in this race was when there's a period where Max Verstappen was stuck behind Valtteri Bottas, and Bottas had car damage. Apparently, it was a piece of a Ferrari car. At least I don't know what it was, but it was red. Whatever piece of metal was attached to Valtteri Bottas's car was red. I want to blame Ferrari because that sounds fun. I don't know if it was, but whatever. And there was a lot of tension there because Lewis Hamilton in first place was just getting away. And Bottas had an injured car on a track you can't really pass on, and Max was having a really hard time getting around Valtteri Bottas. And then finally, there was a moment where, and I literally stood up and I went, finally, where Max Verstappen got around Valtteri Bottas, and it was really exciting and really cool for a second. And then, like, very shortly afterwards, Max Verstappen hit some debris, and his tires got all mangled, and he got all messed up, and he crashed, basically. And so Max had to DNF. He did not finish. It was very disappointing. And I went, oh, man, what felt like what could have been an amazing, interesting finish was a missed opportunity because of Max Verstappen getting a tire puncture, basically, what it looked like, because he hit some debris. There were 5 total did not finishes in DNF results in this race. George Russell's was the most painful. He crashed during a safety car. There were 10 laps left, and George Russell's Williams just veered left into the wall. He was trying to, he just dropped the car. I don't know what to say about it. He was crushed. He was sad. I don't blame him. It was really the best opportunity George Russell's ever gotten at points, and he blew it. So it was just, I felt bad for him. It was very, very sad. Now, these are all the racers that did not finish other than, George Russell didn't, Max Verstappen DNF, Kevin Magnussen, he spun out, and then his head had headaches, and he was last, and he just ended up pulling out of the race. Pierre Gasly had a terminal engine failure where they knew, basically, I think the coolant was leaking. They ran out of coolant, and they knew the engine was not going to make it through the entire race, and so Pierre Gasly's AlphaTauri pulled out, which is too bad. He was in a really good spot when he went out. And I think you can't run your engine till it blows up, because I think that's a penalty in F1. So Pierre Gasly did not finish. Esteban Ocon DNF'd. And then Ferrari is this team that I find comically bad. They have this really talented driver. They have 2 really talented. They have Sebastian Vettel, a really talented driver, and then they have Charles Leclerc, a really talented driver. I think Sebastian Vettel at this point is just checked out and doesn't care. Where, there was a moment where Ferrari botched one of Sebastian Vettel's pit stops so badly. Sebastian Vettel, a regular pit stop in F1 is like generally 2.5 to 3 seconds. Sebastian Vettel's pit stop was 13.1 seconds. It's just embarrassing. I think it was the front right tire. They couldn't get the lug nut to spin on. That's awful. And kind of hilarious. I always call Ferrari the Dallas Cowboys of F1. And it's weird how, as the Dallas Cowboys have had a horrible, horrible year this year, so too have Ferrari. And I said that Ferrari was the Dallas Cowboys of F1, like, in August. Like, way before. No, it was the beginning of the year. It was like, when did the F1 season start? Like April, something like that? I said that months and months before we knew the Dallas Cowboys were bad, and yet somehow their failures and successes are aligned, and as the Cowboys are terrible, so too is Ferrari. Probably the weirdest moment of the race was lap 51 out of 63, 12 laps left. It was a safety car. And Racing Point decided to have Sergio Perez pit. Nobody else did. Nobody else got a pit stop. Sergio Perez did. I don't really understand the thought. I think maybe they were trying to predict the people behind them would get a pit stop. And they're like, well, we got to be on new tires if they're going to be on new tires. But Sergio Perez dropped from third, a podium position, to seventh. And that's awful. That's terrible. And it was pointless. And because of that, it actually cost him a podium place, which made no sense to me. So I just felt bad for Sergio Perez. There's no conspiracy there really. It was a Max Verstappen crashed. So that was the yellow flag. Then George Russell crashed, which extended the yellow flags even longer. But even if George Russell hadn't crashed and there was real racing for most of the end of the race, I don't know that you just can't pass on this track. So I don't know why you would give up positioning and go from seventh to third. You're probably not going to make up 4 positions to get back to a podium position no matter what happens. So I just thought that Racing Point had a really big mistake there, and they very much cost their driver, Sergio Perez. Felt bad for Sergio. Now, here are the results of the race. Lewis Hamilton got first. Valtteri Bottas got third. Daniel Ricciardo got, Valtteri Bottas got second. Daniel Ricciardo got third place and a podium position. Very cool for him. His second with Renault. Now, Alex Albon spun himself out. And I did a whole topic about Alex Albon, about why I think Red Bull's going to drop him. I think they should. They've given him opportunity after opportunity. I know there's some tie investment in Red Bull, but Alex Albon's getting shown up by, Daniel Kvyat had a better day than, first of all, why does Martin Brundle call him Kvyat? Like, if you listen to an F1 broadcast, they call him Daniel Kvyat instead of Kvyat. I don't know. Am I just stupid? Do I not know how to say that name right? Because everyone tells me it's Kvyat, but I listen to the F1 broadcast, they say Kvyat. And I go, is no one telling them there's no R in that word? I don't understand. Now, again, dumb American. I don't really know. Do my best. But I think Alex Albon has reached the point where he took himself out of the race, basically. He dropped the car, and he said he got touched. If you watch video, nobody touched Alex Albon. It's in his head. And so I think that I think Alex Albon's going to have to lose his seat in Red Bull. And I feel bad for him. I don't feel happy saying that. This is his lifelong dream. It's all he's ever worked for. So it's terrible, but I think Alex Albon's days at Red Bull Racing are going to come to an end, and they're over. Especially, here's what's ridiculous. If Alex Albon has a seat next year in F1, but Nico Hülkenberg and Sergio Perez do not, that'd be ridiculous. If Sergio Perez and Nico Hülkenberg, if both of them, maybe one of them won't get a drive, but if they both don't have a drive, no matter what happens to Alex Albon, that's a shame and very, very ridiculous. Sergio Perez has been phenomenal. I went into the year very skeptical, going like, Sergio Perez is good, but like, whatever. No, Sergio Perez has won me over this year. He's a way better driver than I gave him credit for, and he deserves a lot of recognition. He'd better be in F1 next year. If he's not, that's a weird tragedy and a shame. Here are the drivers standing so far this year. Lewis Hamilton has 282 points. He's most likely to win pretty easily, actually. Valtteri Bottas has 197 points. Max Verstappen is third with 162. Now, the battle for best of the rest, the battle for fourth in F1 is very interesting. You have Daniel Ricciardo with 95 points, Charles Leclerc with 85, Sergio Perez with 82, Lando Norris with 69, and Carlos Sainz with 65. What's going to be interesting is if any of these guys get a podium, because a podium is going to swing them a lot. But Danny Rick is really pulling away. I don't know that Charles Leclerc is the closest guy to him. I don't have a lot of confidence that Charles Leclerc is going to get another podium the rest of the year. So we'll see. Crazy stuff happens every week. But I don't have a lot of confidence that anybody can challenge Danny Rick at this point, the way he's driving. He looks phenomenal. And it's almost a shame that he's leaving Renault, because it looks like Danny Rick finally hit his stride with Renault, and now he's leaving. By the way, it's a really quiet race for McLaren. Just interesting, quiet. McLaren hasn't done much in a couple weeks, and I'm waiting for them. It's interesting. We'll talk about the standings. So before we get into Renault in a second, let's say this. In the constructors' standings, you have Mercedes, who already won. They have 479 points. They literally already won F1. In second, you have Red Bull. They have 226 points. That's almost single-handedly all Max Verstappen scoring points for Red Bull. You have Renault with 135 points in third. Renault is third right now. McLaren is fourth with 134 points. This battle between McLaren, Renault, and then Racing Point also has 134 points. The battle for third is literally down to 1 point right now. Renault is in third with 135. McLaren has 134. Racing Point has 134. Honestly, I hate saying this. I think McLaren has top to bottom the most quality drivers. Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz. Renault is very top heavy. I really like Danny Rick, and Esteban Ocon's okay. Racing Point, I really like Sergio Perez, and Lance Stroll is okay. McLaren, I don't know that I like either of the McLaren drivers as much as I like Daniel Ricciardo and Sergio Perez, but it's really close. They have more quality top to bottom at McLaren than any of the other teams vying for third. You would think McLaren has an opportunity to get third place. I hope they do. I find myself rooting for McLaren because I like Lando Norris. I think it'd be cool for him to be involved in that. I don't really care, but it's interesting. And the battle for third place right now in F1 is probably the marquee, most interesting battle in all of F1 because a lot of other stuff, like the battle for second, Bottas is pulling away. Red Bull has no chance to, Mercedes already won, literally, but no one's going to take second place from Red Bull either. So I don't know, but the battle for third is the best battle in all of F1 in the constructors' standings. Who's going to get third place? I don't know. Renault, McLaren, Racing Points all come down to 1 point, and I cannot wait to see what happens as the year comes to an end.